I had to record my wrap up in two different like clips because my battery ran out on the first clip. I hadn't fully charged it. So then I had to replace it with a charged battery. And then when I went to put everything on the hard drive, for some reason, the first clip, which of course was the longest clip, something was wrong with it. It was corrupted and I couldn't uncorrupt the bitch. So we're going to go through the first half of my reading wrap up for March and April again. So I'm sorry because I did change outfits. I look different at this point and it's just because I thought that I was good to go yesterday. And I was not good to go yesterday. I was so severely wrong about that. I think that the second clip started with Red Queen. So I just have to get everything together prior to Red Queen. I'm just going to go through in the order that they're listed. I had written everything down so that I knew what I needed to get like pictures of, like covers of the pictures for overlays. But I'm just going to go off the list. It wasn't in order anyways because I don't have the mental capacity to do that. So first one on the list of the missed books is Jacoby. It is a YA fantasy mystery story. Like, if you've ever read A Drop of Corruption, I think that you would really enjoy Jacoby because he is a character who is very quirky. I think he's neurodivergent. It's never confirmed, but that's what it feels like. He picks up on things that other people miss, and he likes to dive deeper into things that people are willing to kind of like brush over. And in being like that, he is able to see things that we don't see or don't care to see, and therefore solve mysteries. And in the first mystery, in this first book, you meet Abigail, who is his assistant. She is English. She leaves university, and instead of going back home to her parents' house, she decides to go all the way to America. And now she needs to find a job. So while she's looking for a job, she runs into Jacoby, and he's fucking weird. But she agrees to be his assistant. He agrees to take her on as an assistant too, because they're a bit reluctant. He is at the beginning. And the whole book is basically them solving a mystery, and it ends up involving some mythical creatures. It was a lot of fun to read. I liked the audiobook narrators. I like Abigail. She is spunky and she's clever, and she's not willing to take no for an answer sometimes. Like, there are times when Jacoby's like, no, you're wrong. And she's like, no, you're wrong. And she says it with her chest. And I really like that about her. I think she's a really fun character. And Jacoby himself, too, is very multi-layered. He does come off a bit aloof at first. He is a little bit, you feel like he's a little disconnected from everybody. But he's actually somebody that has like a lot of emotional depth. And I really enjoyed him. I loved this story. My understanding is the next 3 books, I think it is. The next 3 books, you still follow Jacoby and Abigail, kind of like the Sherlock Holmes and, oh my gosh, I don't remember what his friend's name, like his assistant's name is, but it's basically like that dynamic, and you follow them along on other adventures, other mysteries they need to resolve. The next one is A Curious Beginning. I kind of similar to Jacoby a little bit in the sense of like it's kind of like more fun. It seems like it's a little bit more lighthearted, even though there are some darker themes or moments in it. It's overall not a dark story. In A Curious Beginning, you have Veronica, who is a young woman who grew up a little bit unconventionally, I think, and as a result, she has grown up to be somebody who doesn't really give a fuck about societal expectations for women at this time period. It's giving a little bit of like Victorian age. That's what it's giving. Victorian, I want to say, maybe Bridgerton type. People seem to know what Bridgerton is. Like, she buries one of her aunts, and all of a sudden she's being like persecuted by somebody. Like, somebody's trying to get her. And she's like, what? Why? I don't know anybody. I didn't do anything. But she's also very like aloof, kind of like Jacoby. She's like, all right, well, whatever. Go ahead, do your thing. But for a long time, she doesn't believe that somebody's trying to get her, but she knows somebody's trying to get her. And she ends up having to kind of like work together with Stoker. And Stoker is just your classic broody, grumpy asshat. He really is. He's not like rude or anything, but he's very much so like, I don't want anything to do with this. I love the two of them together. I love the way they work together to solve this mystery. There's no fantasy or anything like that, but I just loved how quirky and fun and the banter and everything about it was just a really good time. And this is another series. I think this one is like 10 books long now, where each book is like a different mystery or like a different conflict they need to resolve, but I don't know if there's an overarching theme across all the books. I think, I might be wrong. I refuse to find out. I refuse to look it up because I only want to find out reading it. I do think Veronica and Speedwell get together, maybe. Which, like, honestly, would be the best thing ever because they are such a power couple and they're so much fun. And he never at any point tries to hinder Veronica. He's very much so just like trying to keep up with her most of the time. And he never tries to like get her to not do something because of society or because no, he just is like, bro, just can you listen to me because I think I know what I'm doing. And she's like, no, I know what I'm doing. And they're just so much fun. I really enjoyed them. Oh, the next one is it might hurt some feelings. I'm sorry. Mind you, I say that, but I didn't hate it. I didn't even dislike it. I really, really enjoyed the Sword of Kaigen. I thought it was a good book. I thought it was a good story. I loved the characters. I love the magic system. I like the way that the author introduces you to the world and the magic and the politics and all of that via the characters. She doesn't just info dump on you. It's very much so like Mamoru is learning about something, so then you are therefore learning about it. But there's two point of views, Mamoru and Misaki. Misaki is Mamoru's mom, and she's a mother of 5, I believe. And she has a history. She has a history for being a fucking badass warrior, vigilante. And Mamoru is a young boy. I think he's like 14 in the book. And he wants to become a warrior. He wants to be a warrior like his people. There, sorry, you're too high up. He wants to be a warrior like his people have always trained to be and whatnot. And he unfortunately also finds out through one of his new classmates that the world isn't exactly what it's been pitched to him as. He has to unfortunately learn that there are a lot of things that his government is covering up, a lot of things that his government is just outright lying about, and it bothers him. And you get to see how it bothers him for a period. And Misaki, you kind of get to see. You see a little bit of her history, of her past, so you get to see who she was. You get to see who she's become since becoming a wife and a mother, and how taxing and how dragged down it all has been. And then you get to see her starting to turn into a new version of herself. And I've really enjoyed her journey through pre and during and post motherhood. I think that it was a wonderful portrayal of what it is to become a parent sometimes. Now, what might hurt some people's feelings is the fact that a book like The Sword of Kaigen could never be infinity stars for me. It could never be all-time favorite, because everybody says you can read this as a standalone. I do have to admit, there are a lot of things that are resolved. You do get a lot of answers. There's a lot of closure for certain things. However, when I ended the book, I definitely felt like there was a lot about the world and the government and the politics specifically, that conflict. There was a lot there that was left unanswered because while you can read it as a standalone, this is very much giving to me the first book in a series, in an epic fantasy series. But the author made it clear a long time ago. And I did look into it because, I was left wondering like, oh, is there ever going to be something else? She's made it very clear that she does not intend to go back to the Theonite War story because it was such a long time ago for her. And I can understand that. I can fully, not that she needs my acceptance, but I accept that you have evolved as a writer to the point where there are certain stories that you wrote a long time ago that you can't go back to. I get that. Totally. It doesn't change the fact that this to me it doesn't feel like a complete story. It doesn't. I loved it. I thought it was incredible. I loved the characters, the representation, the magic, the politics. I loved everything. The fight scenes were crazy. They were crazy good. But at the end of the day, there is something that was very important to me. It was kind of like one of the more important things going on in this story, and it was left unresolved, and I don't like that. I don't. And I hate saying that because I know everybody loves the Sword of Kaigen, but I had a hard time with the ending. Like when I finished the book, I was like, oh, are you sure that's it? There's no like novella out there. There's no short story out there to like maybe tie it all together. But overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was incredible. I thought it was good. I would recommend it. Just, I personally can't say you can read it as a standalone. I would never say that to somebody if they wanted to read The Sword of Kaigen. I would tell them it's the first book in what I think should have been a series, and it feels like that when you get to the end. Next is Tempting Boss. I don't know what it's about. I don't remember it. I'm pretty sure if I look up on my Fable, I think I gave it like 2 stars because whatever it was just not memorable. It wasn't very impressive. Based on the title, she was tempting her boss. So she's dating her boss, I think? Yeah, I gave it 2.5 stars. I didn't even write a review for it. Like, that's usually an indicator of like, I didn't really like it. I should have DNF'd it, but some stories, they're just so short and quick to read that it's like, before you know it, you've ended it. But he's a control freak CEO. She values independence above all else. When he hires her on a 6-month contract, they clash and sparks fly. Workplace romance, accidental pregnancy, he falls first, fake dating. Yeah, that's all I got for you. I'm sorry. I there are certain books I read them, and if I really didn't enjoy them or like they just don't stick with me, I swipe them. So that's all I got for you on Tempting Boss. Now, Match Penalty. I really liked Match Penalty. It's about, he's French, if I'm not mistaken. What is his name? Okay, his name is JP. What's her name? Cammy. Okay, so it's JP and Cammy. JP and Cammy have a history, right? So it's kind of like Second Chance. They have a history. Back in the day, JP maybe ran into some problems and he didn't behave himself in a very gentlemanly way, I'm going to say. Nothing like essay or anything like that. Just he obviously was going through something and he didn't handle it well emotionally. And, you know, he let the ball drop on a couple of things. So he gets traded down almost in the hockey world to a different team. And it just so happens that that is the team that Cammy's dad is the coach of. So they come back into contact with each other. JP has never forgotten about Cammy. He never forgot about her. He never stopped feeling the way that he feels about her. And Match Penalty is you watching him yearn and trying to prove himself to Cammy over and over again. And at every opportunity that she gives him, he tries to prove to her, I am a better man and I can be even better. Like, please give me a chance. Yo, I loved JP so much. A good hockey romance is going to do it for me every time. It could be rom-com, it could be dark, it could be light dark. A good hockey romance period is going to do it for me every time. And that was a damn good one. I really enjoyed it. Cammy kind of got on my nerves a little bit just because she was so wishy-washy. And I think it's because that back and forth in her mind started early on. It didn't start with her being like, no, I don't like you. Like, no, rival, like whatever, right? Enemies, they're not enemies, but you know what I mean. It didn't start like that. It kind of started and she was already on the fence. So the whole book, her being on the fence, was like a little bit much, but I really enjoyed it. And I thought it was really good. And it's great for a palate cleanser if you like to use romance or like, I use romance and thrillers as like palate cleansers sometimes. I think it's great for that. But I also think it's a really good story. Like, I had a really good time reading it. And JP's a really good guy. Just saying. Like, he has one of her hair ties and he wears it all the time. And I don't know why I was like, oh, God, JP. God, please give me a JP. But I don't want all that crap in the beginning. Not in the beginning. Now, the next hockey romance I read, I didn't like it. It's Before We Came. I don't remember the character names. I'm not looking them up. She has amnesia. The FMC has amnesia and she's supposed to not remember like a lot of stuff. And she has some type of history with the MMC. And this is the part where I'm like, this is where you lost me. Every time the author needed to progress the story forward, she would just magically remember things. I'm like, you didn't remember like 90% of your past. Now all of a sudden you remember 20% of it just because you're having a conversation with somebody. And it wasn't a conversation where like something was said and it's like, oh, I now remember this. My foot itches really bad. It wasn't one of those moments where like you're having a conversation and something somebody said sparked your memory. It was more just like she's having a conversation or there's a scene playing out and all of a sudden, boom, she remembers stuff. And I'm like, you're annoying me. If the whole story felt fabricated, the whole thing felt like it was being done on purpose. Every single moment was on purpose. And I don't mean in the sense of like you're writing a story because duh, it's on purpose. They're writing a story. But I mean, nothing felt organic, nothing. And I rage finished that book because when I was done with it, I was like, there was nothing to redeem it. I really disliked it. I don't like when that's done. Don't give me a character with XYZ going on. XYZ, 3 fingers. Going on, and then just because you want to get to the next part of the story, you clear out X, and now it's just YZ. I'm like, no, there needs to be some type of like build up or flesh it out, something like work it. Don't just boom, now she remembers everything. It really freaking irked me. Next one on the list is Legends of Thesmar. I am up to book 3. I read books 1 and 2, which is Blood and Steel, Vows and Ruins, I think, in March. And then I read Fate and Furies in April. And I really like the series so far. You follow Althea. She is a young woman who lives in a world where women are not allowed to become warriors. There's like a prophecy, and it's all about a woman and how she's going to bring out basically like the end of all times. That's basically how it reads, honestly. So she isn't allowed to become a warrior, but of course, that's what she wants to do. So she is going against the grain, going against the flow. At every turn, she's being bullied and picked on. There's incredible found family in this series. I love the found family in this series. It's everything you could want from a found family trope in a fantasy. Like they really do support each other and they grow together and they clash sometimes, but they go through what feels like very realistic friendship things, right? And then she meets Wilder, who's like one of the best war swords ever, and obviously he doesn't like her at first, and then they develop something goes on. Book 2, as I said in the reading vlog that I did for that one, and I don't think I did book 1. I think I just did book 2. There's way too much spice. I think book 2 could have either been like maybe 150, 200 pages added to book 1 or split between book 1 and book 3. The first part of book 2 didn't need to happen. It was just entirely too much spice. And I don't love the romance between Wilder and Althea. It's not my favorite romance. There's nothing bad about it. I don't hate it. There's just something about the two of them that it doesn't work. Like it doesn't jive in my brain. I don't know if that makes sense, but like that's not what I'm reading the story for. Now the plot deserves an award. It's really good. It's really good. I was talking. Not just watching Althea like battle these societal pressures and or expectations, whatever, right? These restrictions placed on her because she's a woman. It's not just about that. It's also watching her step into her power, watching her battle her own mind and what she thinks she knows about herself and what she's been led to believe about herself, battling all of that and discovering new things about her and her sister and her past and her family. I really enjoy the plot. I think it's incredible. It's so fun. It's captivating and it's paced really well. I just can't get behind the romance. I don't know if that's going to change in book 4. Like maybe something will happen and I'll be like, oh, okay, like this all came together. I don't know. The plot, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 in my opinion. I think the only thing holding this thing back, that series back, is that second book. My guy, I skimmed so many chapters of them fucking each other at the most inopportune times. You just got off the battlefield. You're covered in filth and gore and guts and you're over here. I don't buy it. I don't buy it because if you tried to come after me after we just fought a battle, I know your breath stinks. I know your breath stinks. And I know your pits stink. No. So I just have a hard time getting behind their romance in book 2, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. And like, honestly, it's one of those books where I unfortunately am on that, like, just power through it train, especially until you get to that last, like, 30-40%. That's where it really starts to come together as far as the plot, and you get a lot of progression there. And I did enjoy the ending of book 2 a lot. It was incredible. What's next? Some Kind of Forever. I did this like indie reading. It wasn't a challenge per se, but I just wanted to re-spark my indie reading because I feel like I've kind of fallen off on that. It's about a young woman who I don't remember their names. I'm sorry. And that sucks because I do plan to buy a physical copy of it, and I want to reread it because it was really good. She is a young woman who has her own trauma, her own baggage, as always, and she runs away from having to face certain realities in her life by working too much and too hard, in my opinion. And she meets a young man who, kind of like from the outside looking in, he looks like he has it all together and everything's just handed to him on a silver platter. And of course, we know as humans, as people that live in the real world, that's rarely ever true. It's not as common as you would think it is based on how you see people. But for him, it's like almost love at first sight. He's almost like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with this girl. I need her. I need this woman in my life. And she's very much so like, wow, I think you're really attractive, but also like, I don't really have time. And because she works so much, she doesn't have time. And it kind of feels like he makes up reasons to see her, makes up reasons to run into her. And I really like it because he's never pushy. He is not a pushy guy, kind of like JP. It's almost like, I want to create a moment where you have to come into contact with me, but I'm not going to force you to interact with me. I'm not going to force you to accept what I want from you, right? It's very much so like he just really wants to get to know her better. He wants to get to know her better. He wants to know not just the surface level part of her. He wants to know more about her. And I really enjoyed it. There is a third act breakup, and it does make it feel like a little drawn out towards the end. I enjoyed every other thing about this book. There we go. I love the side characters, and I think that they have their own book. So when I buy the first book, I'm going to buy the second book. They have amazing side characters. I think that the main characters themselves are super multi-layered, and everything about them, except for that third act breakup, everything else about them felt really organic. It felt like this is how the story wrote itself out. I just really enjoyed Some Kind of Forever. I really did. And I didn't think I was going to, because sometimes I don't like small town romances. I feel like because the story is contained to this small town, you kind of get like the same things done over and over again across books. But I think the author did a fantastic job with this. I really loved it. I thought it was a great time. What's next on the list? Runebreaker. This is another indie book, actually. And this is the one. Runebreaker sparked my desire to want to read more indie stories, not just for March, but like across the rest of the year, right? It is a romantasy, and who's the girl's name? Ailey. I think I'm saying it right. Ailey is a young woman who can break ruins. Like, that's her power, and she's not supposed to have it. And her sister also has a power that she's not supposed to have. So if anybody were to find out about their powers, it would be a lot of trouble for Ailey and her sister. Ailey gets taken prisoner by the king, and she gets separated from her sister. In an effort to get away from the king and find her sister, she breaks the ruins on the executioner. The executioner is a prisoner of the king. And that's what he does. He executes people. That's what the king forces him to do. And then when she breaks the ruins, he kidnaps her. And it was a lot of fun. It was a ton of fun to read. And Kairos is one of those MMCs. He's the executioner. He's one of those MMCs who like doesn't want to be soft for her. Like, he wants to maintain that like broody exterior. But it's like every time she look at him, he melts. He just melts. Fuck, he loved it. It was so good. It was incredible. And the whole book is them like kind of battling it out, the two of them, duking it out, the two of them, but also like her trying to get back to her sister and learning more about her powers and what that means and trying not to get found out. This is one of those romantasies where the tropes feel familiar. They don't feel similar to other books and how they've executed the tropes. I feel like the tropes in this were done in their own unique way to this story, but it felt really good to like fun and good to read something that kind of sparked a little bit of nostalgia in me, as far as like I miss these kind of romantasies, but also felt like its own story. I really enjoyed it. And I can't wait for the second book. I've been stalking the author's Instagram, like I get paid, because I want to know when the next book is coming out, but I haven't seen anything yet. So keeping my eyes peeled, because when it does come out, that means I get to reread the first book. Really hope this is the last one on this list. I think it is, because I got corrupted before Red Queen. All right, so January, I read Defy the Night. Really liked it. Loved it. And that's when I was like, yeah, I'm going to start off every new year reading like an older YA series, like something more nostalgic. And just older in publication too, because I think this one came out in... Oh no, this came out in 2024. I was not expecting that. I thought this was much older than that. Wow. Okay, so this came out in 2024, but it's written like a more OG, old school YA fantasy. That's crazy. There's no magic. There's no magic in this story. And Defy the Night, because I can't give you spoilers about the next two books, you meet Tessa, and she's like a vigilante, renegade apothecary. Like, this is a world where there is a disease, there is an affliction that is fatal. And of course, the upper classes have entirely too much of the moonflower, which is what they need to make the elixir to help and save people. So that means that the lower classes basically are fighting each other tooth and nail to get their hands on this elixir, because they are dying by the thousands. Tessa and her little buddy steal moonflower from people that have too much, and they make the elixir and they hand it out to the lower classes in the slums. Well, she got caught. She got caught too. Oh, Tessa, God bless her. She got caught. And something really crazy happens at the beginning of Defy the Night, and I was like, whoa, that's really explosive to be in like the first 20% of the book. but you get to watch all of that play out. In the second 2 books, she is now an advisor to the king, and her job is to kind of help fix the problem of inequality. You know, how some people have entirely too much and others don't have enough of this resource. Her job at that point is to figure it out and try to fix it. And you meet new characters in the second book and they go on a journey. And then in the third book, all that shit just like literally everywhere. Like just explosive all over the place. I like Tessa. Even though in the second book, she drove me up a wall, y'all. I don't like disloyalty. And in the second book, Tessa very much it's giving she has no idea what loyalty means. And I don't like that. I don't like that in real life. And in books, it bothers me too. However, I think what the author did that is incredible, and I don't see it very often with characters that are so back and forth about other characters, is Tessa got it thrown right back at her. Multiple times in book 3, she has to directly confront the fact that she was being disloyal in other moments, right? She was allowing other people's opinions to sway how she felt about a character that she knew. She had a history with that character. And yeah, you find out some really crazy things and things that are not great. And that character has a reputation for being an XYZ bad person, but you knew this character. You worked with this character. Why are you now acting like you've never fucking met them before and you're letting other strangers sway how you perceive this person? That really bothered me, but she had to deal with it directly. She had to come face to face with her stupidness in the third book, and I enjoyed that. And I think that's why the series as a whole was incredible to me, because it's not just about that conflict, those like really high stakes, might I add. It's also about characters having to come face to face with who they were and their behaviors and their choices and their consequences. And it's not all just, well, let's brush over it so we can get to the next plot point so that they can be the winner or, you know, come out on top. The author forced her characters to deal with themselves and look in the mirror, and I really enjoyed it. And at the end of the third book, a character that I was really worried about, that I didn't even realize I loved as much as I loved, but I was worried about them. They get the most perfect ending ever. It was everything I could have. I didn't even know that could have been an ending for that character. And then when I'm reading it, I was sobbing. I was so happy for them. They really they deserved all of the good things. All of the good things and none of the bad things, because they were just that amazing of a person. But yeah, I think those were all the books that I fucking missed, or if that got cut. The beginning of the video looks like this, and the end of the video looks like this. We were talking about Red Queen. I read this a very long time ago, and I just remember I enjoyed it. I didn't remember anything that happened in the plot. I didn't remember the characters. I just remember enjoying it. Whoa, that was aggressive. I just remember enjoying it so much that I just slapped the book. For me, Red Queen is an ode to YA fantasies. Like, YA fantasies where the stakes are just so fucking incredible. You can't understand how these kids are supposed to be saving this world, how they're supposed to save everybody. Like, your life and my life are in the hands of 16-year-olds, and we're supposed to be okay with that? It's just an ode to YA fantasy, in my opinion. I think it's incredible. I now think that it's probably up there with one of my like favorite YA series of all time. Mind you, it's just the first book. I still have 3 other books to read in this series, right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah. I enjoyed it. Mero is a young girl, and she lives in a world where there are silvers, and they have silver blood, and they are the upper echelon of society, right? And then there are reds, and they have red blood, and they are just in the gutter because silvers have powers and reds don't. Something about their blood is what gives them this power, supposedly. A little bit of like Red Rising vibes, but not all the different colors, just the 2 different colors. And the thing that separates them is the ability to have magic and have powers. Not magic, but powers. And they're kind of like elemental powers too, a little bit. There's more than just elemental, but it's kind of in line with elemental stuff. Turns out Mero is a red. She has red blood, but she somehow has powers. And she has to become somebody that she's not. She has to somehow immerse herself and assimilate into this court life, even though that's not who she is. It doesn't come naturally to her. She does struggle, but she's so resilient. She's experiencing all of those things that you kind of experience when you're a young adult, things that like you have to rediscover yourself. You have to discover that the world is not all peaches and cream. Mind you, she lives in a world where it was never peaches and cream, but it just is like accentuated how much better the Silvers have it because they squash and oppress the Reds. And she has to deal with all of that. She has to deal with being bitter. She has to deal with being betrayed. The betrayal in this book, it hurt me. I was hurt for Mare because how could you? How, and the lengths that the person went to betray her were so I felt for her so much at the end of this book, and now she has to come to terms with everything that happened in that betrayal and how she inadvertently contributed to the Silvers having more of an upper hand than they did before. I can't wait to keep going with this series. I can't wait to keep going. I just want to collect the next 2 books, the last 2 books in the series, because I know that it's going to be one of those where like I'm reading the whole series. I'm going to read Glass Sword and I'm going to keep going. Nothing is going to stop me. It's so good. It's so well written. The characters are so multi-layered and they're so vulnerable. Like they're young men and women and they are vulnerable in that way, and they have to figure out how they're going to save everybody while being young men and women who are vulnerable. I just enjoyed every single fucking second of this. I really genuinely did. I read this so fast. I was like, I can't get enough. Like at one point I wanted to just like nosedive into the book because that's how good it was. And yeah, highly, highly enjoyed. I can't wait to continue that series. Another one, I had a really good 2 reading months, I'm going to say. It was really good if I think about it. So then I also read A Natural History of Dragons. This was in an unhaul box. I had this book for a hot minute, and I put it in an unhaul box because I didn't want it anymore. I was like, I'm never going to read it. It's fine. And then I took it out when I was going through those boxes to see like what could go where, right, as donations. And I read the first couple pages, and I was like, I didn't remember this book being written like this. I thought it was something else. This is really good, and there's drawings in here too. There's not a lot of drawings, but there are some, and I think that they are put in perfectly. Like here. Like sometimes there are drawings of the dragons, and I just think it's wonderful. You follow a young woman named Isabella, and she is a natural historian and you meet her when she's a young child, when she's first starting to discover that desire to learn about natural history. And unfortunately, again, she lives in a time period where that's not what women should be doing. Young girls and women should be preparing themselves to be wed, become mothers, cook and clean, sew, all of that stuff, right? Unfortunately, she goes through a period of time where she kind of has to fall in line, like she doesn't have a choice. But her father is a natural historian himself, and he kind of like sneakily nurtures that side of her. Like he does this really sweet thing, and I'm not going to cry, I promise. I'm not going to cry. He does this really sweet thing where he will purchase books relevant to natural history, and then he'll read them first and put them back on his shelf, knowing full well that his daughter is going to pilfer the books and read them. And he buys them sometimes for that very reason, so that she can. It was so good. I'm going to cry. I love my dad. So I think what really got me about the daughter-father relationship was the fact that, like, he tells her, he's like, I can't let you run off and do whatever you want. Like, I need you to fall in line, but I also am not going to break your spirit. I'm not going to kill that side of you that wants to learn, that wants to discover, that wants adventure. And he even goes as far as to create a list of possible suitors that also have a shared interest in natural history, or also that have expansive libraries. And it just, sometimes it's not all about giving your kids what they want. It's just about not killing the side of them that wants it, I think. And I just really, really fucking loved that father-daughter relationship. And I'm not going to cry. It was just really sweet. It was. Anyways, she gets married and she goes on her first expedition. And it is a fucking whirlwind. Like, it was so much fun to read. Isabella is so smart. And at the same time, she does have moments where you're kind of like, girl, what? Do you have nobody you could have ran that by first? She's such a good character. I enjoyed everything about her. And she kind of goes through it at the end. And it broke my heart. Like, I wasn't expecting that. You read this entire book, probably until like the last like 100 pages or something, and you're having a good time. You're enjoying the banter. You're enjoying the characters. You're enjoying all of the like legends and myths that are being imparted on them. And then, boom, heartbreak. And you're like, what the actual hell just happened? I had to reread that part several times because I was like, did I read this wrong? I didn't think that this was that serious. And in fact, it was. It broke my heart. It's really good. This is another one like Veronica Speedwell and Jacoby, where there are multiple books in the series, but it seems like this one is her first expedition. So like you get to first meet her as a kid, as a young woman. She becomes a wife, goes on her first expedition. I believe that the second book is following her on a different expedition. She's doing something different. And third, fourth, and fifth, I think there's 5. Same thing. She's doing something different, but you still get those doses of Isabella. And the way the story is told is you have older Isabella telling you about younger Isabella. So it's in first person, and sometimes she breaks the fourth wall at the most. She just does it in a really good way. Like the author broke the fourth wall right when it needed to be broke, right when you needed to bring me in and be like, hey, I'm still talking to you. It was good. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, just beware of the ending. I'm letting you know right now. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the ending will make you shed a tear. Probably because you weren't expecting it, like I wasn't. Okay, I need to take a sip of my coffee for the next book. Sorry, I'm like all up in your face. The next book is We Used to Live Here. I don't even know what to say about this book because it scared the shit out of me. We Used to Live Here freaked me all the way out. Yeah, the first day I tried to read it, I started during the day, and then at night I was like, yeah, I'll just keep reading. I had to close the book. I had to not only close the book and put it down, I had to bring it out to the living room, and I slept with the door shut. Because there's just something about this story that like seeped into my bone marrow. That sounds so dramatic. It had me questioning things. Not about like my own reality per se, but like it had me questioning what I was reading. I was like, didn't I just read the opposite? Didn't I just read that she was there and now she's here? Like, example, right? The Eve, she's the young woman in this, and she's clearly losing her fucking mind. She's being tortured, mentally, psychologically tortured by something. And she thinks this house that her partner and her have bought to flip and resell, she's convinced that when they purchased the home, there was a window, and the window had like stained glass, like they do in churches sometimes, the old ones. It had like that. And then something happens in the book and she's in that room and all of a sudden it's just a regular window. And she's like, no, that used to be something else. I was fucking flipping back. I was like, well, now hold on a second. Didn't we talk about this window before? I don't like that. Don't do that to me. It had me questioning if I had misread what I had read. I did it. And then the worst part is when I don't annotate, sometimes I have a hard time relocating things. I never found out if the first time we talked about this window, if it was fucking stained glass or not. I was tripping balls, you guys. I was having such a hard time with this book because it was freaking me the fuck out. I was seriously struggling to read it because I was scared. I was like, I don't like that. If you've ever watched Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio, it's like that. Like whatever's going on in this book subverts your consciousness. It goes past your subconsciousness to whatever the fuck is dwelling down there, and it warps it. It warps whatever it is down there, and you are left questioning what the actual hell is going on. I felt so bad for Eve. I didn't even tell you what the book is about. Her and her partner purchased this really old home. And the purpose, like I said, they're going to renovate it, flip it, and then they're going to sell it. That's what they do. And one day she's by herself, her partner's out, and this family knocks on the door and the guy says, hey, I used to live here. Can I show my family the house? First of all, you wouldn't have had a book if I was in that fucking house because I would have said no. You should have came to the open house, bucko. I don't know what to tell you. Second of all, she lets them in. She goes back and forth for so many pages, and then she lets them in the house. And then they never leave. Like, this bitch woke up the next morning and they were cooking breakfast in her house. And her partner was nowhere to be found. I was like, no. It could never be me. It would never be me. I wouldn't have opened the door. If somebody knocked on my door and I didn't know who they were, I'm not home. Like, what? Anyways, it's a trippy ass horror book. And I do think that it is a trippy horror because, again, the author does a fantastic job of making you question what you've read. I don't like it, but at the same time, I fucking enjoyed it. I really, really had a good time reading it. I never want to see it again. And in the same breath, I say I do plan to reread it because the ending was really convoluted. I finished the book and didn't fully understand if I understood the ending. And I don't know if it's like if you've ever watched the movie Annihilation. I don't remember what the actress's name is, but it's the movie. I've never read the book. The ending of that movie, I feel like, is very, very open-ended and just like unclear, but it's the end of the movie. And like, if you, like, my brother and I watched that movie together the first time, and if I ask him, he can tell me how it ended, but in my mind, that's not how it ended. And we watched the same thing. It's definitely one of those experiences where I need to re-experience it. One, to see if I pick up on anything that I missed. I really want to know if that fucking window was stained glass or not to begin with. Never confirmed it. And two, I want to reread the ending so that I can see if maybe it turns into something different. It really did feel like the whole book was warping. Like Eve's reality is just going out of focus, and it felt like as I was reading, what I was reading was going out of focus as well. And I'm like, see, like, I like horror, but sometimes you can't fuck with me too much because then I get really freaked out. It was really good. It was really good. I think that he has another book now that just recently came out, and I do want to read that. If I'm not mistaken, I have heard there is like a teensy bit of overlap. Like, I think there's a character or something that is in We Used to Live Here that is in the new book. I don't know. I might have misheard that, but I think that's what it was. I read Demon Copperhead. It took me, I started this book in February, and then we found out about my grandpa, and I put a hold on it, and then I picked it back up towards the end of March, and I think I ended up finishing it in April. Like, it took me a really long time to read this book just because of like life. This is a book about a young boy. You literally go through his entire childhood with him into young adulthood too. It's just Demon's life story. You get to see him, being neglected. You get to see his mom pass. You get to see him put in the foster care system. You get to see him pulled out of the foster care system. You get to see him finally going to school and playing football, and then he has to give that up, and you get to see his relationships with women and relationships with other men and boys, his relationship with himself. Like, it is fully, fully, fully a story about Demon. It is solely his story. And yeah, you get a lot of side characters and you get a lot of depth from them, in my opinion, but they are never the focal point. It is always Demon. And I loved every single moment, every single page, every single word. I enjoyed it. I loved it. And I can't fully explain why, because I am, like, if you put Demon and Ange on a piece of paper and drew a line between us, we would be at the farthest corners of the piece of paper from each other. I don't share anything with him as far as his lived experiences went, but there was just something about his emotional reactivity. There was just something about Demon that resonated with me. And it's the sense of like, and this is not to be a sob story, but I grew up never being anybody's first choice, never having anybody super excited to have me near them or with them, right? That kind of followed me into adulthood. I think it also followed me because I was so used to it younger. I closed myself off as I got older. That part of Demon resonated me from page one. Just that sense of like not being wanted in other people's spaces, nobody making space for you. And everything about Demon, I just loved him so much. He goes through so much too. It's incredible how much this young man went through in his story. And I I loved every single second of it. I loved it. It is definitely a character study. This is not a book that you go into for plot. I don't think there's a plot. I don't know if you can say there's a plot. I maybe am ignorant in saying that, but to me, we were just with Demon. Like, we were just following him. We were just talking with him. We were just getting to know who he was and who he is and who he's becoming. And I loved every single moment of it. It was incredible. And this is one of those books, much like The Midnight Library and A Good Animal. These are books where I can see myself picking them up every year and reading them, and either falling back in love with the characters or seeing something new on the page that I missed the first time. Like, they're just books that will stay with me for a very long time. I'm not going to say forever because I can't tell the future, but I do think that this is a book that I will reread. I'm going to pick it back up and I'm going to reread it, and I'm going to love every single moment of it again. There's so much grit. It's so gritty and it's so real and raw, and like, yeah, it's a fictional story, but like, I really connected with Demon. And I think that the author's writing style is kind of interesting. Like, her writing style feels meandering, like kind of like just going off on tangents and going here and going there and describing things, not like purple prose, but just like, it really did feel like I was just talking to a friend, and sometimes your conversation goes off track and comes back and goes back off again. And I enjoyed that, especially with the audiobook. That narrator deserves multiple awards, because the way that that narrator brought Demon to life on the page, I genuinely felt like I was sitting down talking to somebody. Every time I picked it up, I felt like I was just kind of talking to somebody about their life experiences. It was incredible. Okay, the next three on the list I do not own physically. First one is Campus Crush. I get a lisp whenever I try to say that. I don't remember what the FMC's name was, but I know the MMC's name was Foster, if I'm not mistaken, or Kane. Kane Foster or Foster Kane, something like that. Anyways, he is an athlete. I think he's football. And, right, or hockey? I don't know. He's an athlete, and they're in college, and he's looking for a tutor, and he comes across the FMC. What's her name? Abby. Abby and Foster, I think it is. Abby and Foster met during freshman year of college, except he doesn't remember it, and she does, and whatever the fuck happened was mortifying. And I can agree with that. Once you find out what happened, it is kind of mortifying. But he doesn't remember it, so she has to somehow figure out a way to tutor him while knowing who he is and what happened between them, and he doesn't. It was fun. It was a lot of fun to read. It felt like we didn't devote enough time to certain scenes and then too much time to others, but because I went into it wanting a palate cleanser and I just wanted to have a fun time reading, I wasn't really invested. It didn't matter to me. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars or something on Fable. So I would recommend. I thought it was fun to read. It was entertaining. The characters, the side characters are pretty cool and really funny, in my opinion. Overall, it was an okay read though. And then we have Broken Whispers. I want to say it's like a light, dark mafia romance. She belongs to the Italian mafia, and if I'm not mistaken, he's Bratva, and they are married to create some type of alliance. There is a part of the story at the beginning where he stalks her. So when it comes up that somebody needs to marry the Italians, and then he finds out which Italian needs to be married, he's like, oh yeah, that's me. I got that. I'm front line. So the MMC in this one is kind of like soft for the FMC, but it wasn't bad by any means. But I do struggle sometimes with some mafia romances because it really does seem like every part of their relationship is built upon the MMC being more blank than the FMC. Like more wealthy, more fierce, more outspoken, more stubborn. It's like, oh my God, we don't have any women that can be fucking like bulldozers, right? Bulls in the China shop. There we go. We don't have any women that can do that in a mafia romance. Like during COVID, I went through a phase where I read only mafia romance. I read only hockey romance. I read only dark romantasy. I went through phases, and mafia romance was one of them. I think I'm at a point now where I'm all set. Like, I read as much as I could. I got to wait for the next phase to hit, and it hasn't hit yet. And then the next one is, Probability of Us. That was another indie read. I think the last 3 were indie, actually. Yeah. Probability of Us is about a professor's assistant, teacher's assistant, I guess. And in this college course, there is a young man who is a single dad. And he's got a lot on his plate. He's got a lot on his shoulders. His life is messy. He's trying his best, but at the same time, he still yearns for parts of himself that he had before becoming a dad. But also, he is so happy to be a dad, and he's so in it, right? Like, he's truly trying to be the best dad possible. And he deals with a lot of like family pressures, like parent who don't really see his best as his best. And it kind of sucks because who are you to judge somebody's best effort? You have no idea how much effort they're putting into that task for you to say you're not doing it good enough, right? Anyways, he and she, they clash a lot. Like, she is very hard-hearted at the beginning of the book. Like, she's very just not sympathetic, not empathetic. She's very distanced and cold from everybody. And so when he needs to go to her for tutoring, of course, he falls head over heels for her because she's gorgeous and this and that. And she's just kind of like, yo, get your shit together. Like, you show up late. Sometimes you don't show up at all. Like, your assignments look like trash. Mind you, he has all this other stuff going on in the background. And I don't know if that is a prejudice of mine. And that's why I loved the MMC so much. I don't remember their names. What's new? But I just really liked the progression of their relationship. I liked the way that the author took them from being strangers to being TA and tutor and tutoree. I don't know if I just made that up, but you guys know what I'm trying to get at. Their progression from that into friendship, into romantic interest, into something a little bit deeper. I really enjoyed the pacing of the story and of the relationship. And I think that it started off as a romance and it ended up as a love story. And I really, really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I think we are at the end of the list, and I am so glad because I'm starving. I don't remember when Rights of Starling came out, like what date it came out, but I did a reread of Shield of Sparrows right before running to Barnes & Noble to pick up a copy of Rights of the Starling. I really liked Shield of Sparrows the first time I read it last year. I think it was in the winter. I thought it was fun. I thought it was good. I liked the characters. I liked the plot progression. I liked the little tiny bits of romance that we got. I loved the way that it ended. It was a good ass cliffhanger. When I reread it this year in preparation for the second book, I was obsessed. I was like, oh my God, why is this book not every single where I look? Did that make sense? Every single place I look. There you go. People, don't get me wrong. I understand, like, you have your favorites. There are book series that got people. They were gateways for some people. But when are we going to stop talking about ACOTAR and Fourth Wing? I'm so sorry. I know Fourth Wing is still being written. But, like, when are we going to stop talking about them? I've read them. They're good. Yes, they're fine. Can we talk about new books? Can we talk about the Shield of Sparrows series and how fucking incredible it is? This is this woman's, definitely. This is her debut, like, fantasy romance romantasy. Well, Shield of Sparrows was. It was incredible. It was so much fun. And the characters were fleshed out. The world was fleshed out. All the creatures were amazing. The magic system was, like, new. And I was curious about it. It was intriguing. And I don't know, but, like, I read the second book. And I have to be honest, for like a good 50% of the second book, probably more than that, I was like, what's happening? Like, you have 2 point of views in the second book, and I just spent so long wondering, like, when they were going to come in contact and when are they going to run into each other? Guys, I was so off. It's not even funny. And I'm really happy that I was wrong, because I think if it had gone in the direction that I thought it was going to go, I still would have liked it, but I would have been a little bit like, oh, we've seen this before. This did not do anything I expected it to, and I really enjoyed that about it. It's incredible. And you see because you have two point of views in this one, you see certain characters from the first book in a different light in the second book. And I think that that's why I loved it so much, because those characters in the first book, I was like, I don't really like you. You're kind of a douchebag. You suck. And in the second book, you realize you get to see so much of their history. You get to dive into so much of their fucking emotional baggage and trauma. And it's incredible. I am loving this series so far. Like top romantasy series for me. And this is going to be up there with some of my favorites of all time, because I just think she's doing a really good job. I think she's doing a good job with the pacing, with the character development, with the plot twists and plot reveals. I just am enjoying it. And I don't know how long this series is going to be. Like, I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy or not. I kind of hope it's not. I kind of hope it's going to be like a 10-book series, because I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, I didn't even tell you. I'm sure you guys have heard about it though, but Shield of Sparrows follows Odessa, and she is a young woman. She has a sister who's supposed to be married to this neighboring kingdom, who is very closed off and a little bit abrasive, a little bit. And her sister's supposed to be married off, trains her whole life to do it. And then they show up in the kingdom and they say, no, we don't want her. We want Odessa. And Odessa's like, wait, hold on. This wasn't supposed to be, I'm not supposed to do that. She's supposed to do that. I'm supposed to go do whatever I want in this corner. And she goes and she gets married. And then you find out who she's actually married to. And there's magical creatures. And there's one that she adopts. Phase. I love Phase. I can't wait to see what the author does with Phase. There's so much potential behind that little cat panther creature. He's a Tarkin. There's so much potential there. And I really, really hope that she builds on it, because I love that character. I love Phase. But yeah. And then she kind of, along the journey, like traveling to the kingdom that she's supposed to be going to be a spy, she comes to realize whether or not she wants to be a spy. She realizes all of the things that she thought she knew maybe aren't true, and how some of them are just downright wrong. She just learns a lot about herself and about the kingdom that she lives in, the world that she lives in, that she kind of didn't take the time. She kind of took for granted that she lived in this big old world. And she's like, I just live here in this tiny little village or kingdom or whatever. And this is mine. And her worldview is expanded. Her opinions are remade. And Odessa is an incredible character, in my opinion, because whenever you think she's about to take on that damsel in distress persona, she proves you wrong. And I just like the way she does it. And she's quiet about it. You ever heard that saying, it's like, move in silence or something like that? She does that very much so. Like, she's not boisterous about her plans and her intentions. She's very much so, this is what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to go do it. There's really no reason for me to go broadcasting it so other people can give me their opinions and stop me. Nah, I'm going to go do it. And I love that about her. I love Odessa. I do. There's a lot of characters I don't like, though. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of characters I'm like, I hope one of them creatures eats your ass, because I don't like you. But for the most part, I really like her. And I like her relationship with, oh my God, what's his name? Ransom? I think his name is Ransom. I never remember character names, if I'm being honest, but her relationship with the MMC, I really do enjoy it, because he is protective of her, but he doesn't smother her at the same time. He would rather catch her doing the thing he told her not to do, and just be able to protect her as she does the thing she's not supposed to do, than smother her and tie her down so that she can't do anything. And I really like that. I really like him. I'm pretty sure his name is Ransom. Pretty sure it's Ransom. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I probably am. Anyways, I don't know. I said I didn't want this video to be an hour and a half long, and it's probably an hour long. So we're gonna cut it there. Those are all of the books I'm pretty sure that I read in the last 2 months. God, let me take a sip of my coffee. And you never shut the fuck up. I am so appreciative of you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me, if you did. Thank you for watching the video and supporting all the time. I really appreciate it. And I will try not to let this happen again. Because talking for this long is exhausting. I can't imagine. Well, I do imagine, because I do watch the videos. But anyways, I'm going to try to do it month to month so it's not so long every single time. But I thank you again. That's all. Just thank you again. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys for the next video. As always, happy reading.